Hi, guys. How's everybody doing? My name's Adam Mason. I'm the host of the Bearded Talk podcast. You're in this group because we're going to go over SEO tonight. Just a basic level for people who are just nervous about it. It's too nerdy, it's too overwhelming. The big thing I love about SEO, if you're wondering, and we'll get into what is SEO, is that it's free to work on. You don't have to do any advertising or anything like that. You don't have to spend any more money. All it takes, if you can write, you can do SEO. And that's the one thing I'm passionate about. For me, it wasn't something that started out as this thing that I was so good at when I first started, but over time, as you blog more and more weddings or posts or products that you have, you get better at it. And the things that we're going to teach you tonight are going to be kind of the philosophy or the theory behind it, so that you can go through and, one, fix your old stuff to see if it can go, two, so you can track and see what's up, and then three, hopefully have more people, potential customers, find you. SEO is one of the small slivers of getting leads, and SEO is just helping build that funnel. The better your SEO, the bigger portion of that funnel. And again, especially during times like right now, I think it's the number one thing you can work on, just because, again, it's free. So yeah, hi guys, I love this. We're streaming something new tonight, so hopefully there's no technical glitches or anything like that. But yeah, we're using a little bit of software, so if you want me to see your comment, there's a little link at there. You just have to give Facebook permission to eCam. But if you're watching the replay, welcome. Also too, some of y'all, if you're watching this live, waited until the last minute to join the group. That is not a good sign. I know y'all are busy. Things are crazy right now. But we have a lot of resources in the group. I'm going to get to SEO really, really quickly, but we have another workshop that we just had about a month ago about expanding your lead network, and it's free. It's in the Facebook group. I would encourage you to watch that. If you love SEO, I know a lot of you are struggling with getting leads and just getting more people, so that way you can book your conversion rate a little bit higher. Go watch that workshop. It's a little less slower quality than this, but the content is going to be insane. Also, before we get started, at the end of this workshop, at the end of this webinar, whatever you want to call it, I'm going to share with you a few resources, kind of next steps if you want to go deeper. If you learn all this theory and you're just like, I want to watch somebody do it. Well, I've made a resource where you can just go watch me do it for a blog post or a page for whatever you want to do. And especially as a wedding photographer, if that's something you're like, how do I do this? Come to that resource. I'm going to make that available at the end of this for you guys. It's going to be really cool. Some of you already know about it, and I'm really thankful for you, but I'm so excited for this. SEO is just, I'm not even like a master at it. I am like a level 2 out of 10. But being that, it's helped me so much. I mean, we talked about this last workshop. I get about 500 wedding leads a year. And some of that is from SEO, probably 150, 200. And so I think that can happen for you guys as well. And what's cool about SEO, the last thing, the hungrier you are for it, the more passionate you are about pursuing and taking on your competition. Because once I teach you, you can track your competition, then you can defeat them. So I think that'll be really, really, really cool. So some of you are asking if you leave to access the chat, if you'll miss the video. No, you can just reload Facebook. I believe that. So without any further ado, let's get started. This keynote is essentially what I used for a workshop in January at Creative Conference. This is pre-pandemic. And it's called SEO for Dummies, which I think is, one, if I'm a dummy and I can do it, you guys can do it as well. So don't be offended by that by any means. But I'm really, really excited. At the end, we'll do a short Q&A, but not as long as normal, just because I want us to break into action and actually do it, whether you download our resource or you just start blogging. So it's going to be really, really cool. So let's dive in. We're doing it live right now. So let's see. This guy, there's us in the Facebook group. And then here we go. So, we talked about SEO a little bit already, and the biggest thing that SEO needs to be thought about in the way is that it's how people find you, all right? People are looking for a wedding photographer. People are looking for a wedding photographer in your city. People are looking for a certain style of wedding photographer in your city. Those are the things you need to be thinking about. What is my end client, my ideal client, the one that you've worked out, hopefully doing your branding and stuff like that? What are they looking for? Are you just a generic wedding photographer, or are you a light and airy, dark and moody, creative, a moment capturer, whatever that is for you? Then that's going to be what I want you to think about when it comes to SEO. In the nerdy side, it's just a large directory. This is like the largest phone book of all time, essentially. So when it comes to SEO, just think about that. You can also too just pretend that it's like Instagram with a different name. Like, you're totally fine with adopting new Instagram strategies like hashtags, tagging, digging, all that stuff. just apply that to SEO. Like, I'm going to teach you some techniques tonight and some just overview, so that'll help you as well. I think the other thing too is that we just want to be found by people who like us and are looking for us and also have money. That's period. Like, we want clients who already love us. They're like, oh, this is exactly what I'm looking for. And they also have, for us, we usually book in that like $6,000 to $8,000 range. That's what they want. Like, that's what we want to be found for. And this is the success that I've had finding that. So we're going to get through some terms, really nerdy stuff at the beginning, and then we'll get to practical towards the end. But I'm going to use the term authority a lot. Authority is just the amount of trust that site has, right? So like, if a friend told you about a really cool hike, then you would be like, okay, yeah, I like hiking, and this person, they have really cool boots. I trust them. I think they know a little bit about hiking. But like a park ranger, you would trust them even more because they have more authority in that expertise. All right. And so Google and Bing, but mostly Google, are looking for your authority. So when a client is looking for city name wedding photographer, who's the authority? Who's the top dog? Now, sometimes the best person, if you think of the best photographer in your city or the best business in your city, that person might not be ranking on first page for Google. And so that just means that person, whoever's ranking highest, has put more effort in, maybe hired a company, something like that. We're also going to do, this is really funny. Page 2 is the dark web. People do not go to page 2, really. Like, you have to really be searching to on page 2. So a lot of the things we're going to talk about tonight, like, I want to be on page 1 for a few things, and then there are some that we're just going to accidentally show up on once you start doing these practices. Talked about SEO, terms. Backlinks. We're going to talk about backlinks. Backlinks are basically just when other websites or other people link back to your site. That also builds authority. That would be the equivalent of like SEO street cred, basically. Be like, oh yeah, Nicole's site, she's really good. Or Naomi's site, she's incredible. I don't know why I picked two N names, but here we are. You're basically giving like internet street cred, if that makes sense. The other thing is like index. That's really nerdy, but basically you want your site to be able to be indexed by Google, if that makes sense, all right? So we're basically, if you have a Squarespace site, and sometimes those are a little bit harder to show up, whereas Showit's like right in the middle, it can be okay. And then WordPress is usually the easiest to let Google just, hey, look at everything. I want to know everything, because we want Google to be able to like find stuff what people are looking for, all right? And then a URL, of course, is your web address, right? So https:// web address or whatever. Also, too, this is a little thing we learned back in the day, but people say backslash in URLs. It is not backslash. It is /, which I don't know which way the camera's going, but it's like, it's leaning towards where the end of the URL. So cool. Why care about SEO, right? And again, we talked about this at the beginning, but it's free, right? And we don't do any advertising currently. We have listings on Wedding Wire. We don't pay for those. We have listings on Google My Business or whatever. But my big thing is just like, what can I build for free that only is going to take me time and a little bit of effort, and maybe a lot of effort, rather than spending that money. I started my business very, very lean, and that's kind of how I like to run things, even to a detriment. Even if it means I have to still work, 40 to 60 hours a week. I'd rather do that, keep my profitability high, because I'm not spending on those outsourcing dollars, and that's what I like to do. So that's a little bit inside baseball for you, but it's free. Also, once you get it, once you are like, oh, I've seen the light, like this makes perfect sense, then you can apply that to every page, every post on your site. You can start getting really nerdy about it and start A/B testing, right? So like an example, we'll get into this later, but I have the same wedding photos from the same wedding day, but it was at one was at a ceremony venue that's very popular, and the reception was at another venue that was really popular. And in SEO, when you're like, oh, I want to rank for this venue, well, I wanted to rank for both. So I literally did two separate blog posts with a little bit of different photos, different emphasis on each, so that they both could rank, essentially. So that's a little bit of exit strategy for you guys, but that's kind of what we're going to get into. You have potential to be seen by millions of people when you care about SEO, especially with the right content, combined with a great site and a great sales process. In theory, your best and ideal clients will be finding you this way, and already be aligned with your brand. I'll tell you a story. I was just kind of experimenting a little bit, and I was feeling, I do not look at me this way, but I did write in an alt tag, which we'll get to, of an image, badass wedding photographer, or like badass wedding photo, right? Facebook's probably going to take this down because we cursed. And what was really, really cool is, a few months later, couples told me how they found me, and they said, oh, we Googled badass wedding photos, and they found me. And I was like, awesome. And that's not just an SEO win, but that aligns with my brand of like what I want to show up for. How do we want to be? All the photographers on our team are like pretty badass people. So, so I think that's really cool. And SEO, it's one of the things in your business where it rewards the effort that you give it. The more you work on it, the more it's going to work out for you. So that's what really cool. And more fun than Facebook ads. I love Facebook ads. I think they're really cool. It's just not, again, if you don't want to spend money on it, then SEO is where it's at. How can SEO work for you, or for me? The thing I like about it is that you get to set the tone. So, if you think second photographers are important, write about it. Or if you're tired of the old boring venues showing up as the best venues in your city, write about all the new ones. Write about maybe the 7 top wedding venues in Charlotte that you've never heard of, or something like that, because you get to be the expert. You get to set the authority, like we talked about before. I think that's really cool. What do future clients already know or want to know? Write about those things. So you talk about like timelines, right? How do you care about timelines? So one, it's going to show up on Google for the SEO stuff, but also you're creating resources for your current and future clients too. And that's going to bring more brand value to you. So it's not just SEO, we're creating resources, both for current clients and prospective clients, which I think is really cool. So again, I really love this stuff. You can hack your location. I think that's really cool. Basically what I say by that is that most of your locations where you guys are from, and I know where a lot of you are from, are not going to be as competitive as 4 places in the world, or at least in America. So DC, New York City, LA, and San Francisco and Seattle. None of where you live will be as competitive as those 4 places. And that's like, you can look at Google competitive rankings and how many photographers are there, big cities and stuff like that. So the advantage is there'll be less competition for you. So if you start this right after tonight, you can immediately just dive in there and get going. All right. So I think that's really cool for your location. And again, as we mentioned, you can serve your clients in advance. What questions do they need to know before they even book you? What are they thinking about? How do they look at photographers? What questions do your couples usually ask? Can you answer them ahead of time? All right. All right. We're going to go to our next fun slide. How do we actually do it, right? Making sure that everything is all right. Nothing's caught on fire. Perfect. All right. How do we actually freaking do it? All right. So, one, site structure. This is really nerdy, but this is just what you have to think about. Especially for WordPress, it's going to be a little bit easier. But once you see the kind of things in there, you will understand. This is both for you and your users, just to make it easier to browse your website, easier for Google to understand. And this way, when you go to submit a site map, you'll be organized, and Google will be like, oh, I know where everything is, right? This is basically like your URL is your address, and Google goes to your address and it's like, oh, there's nothing here, right? Or like if you went to Google Maps and we're looking at a house and it didn't match what the address said, that's kind of what it's like when you don't have good site structure. All right. Screenshot this if you want, come back to this. This is gold right here, all right? So this is literally how you can think of your site, right? So like your homepage, this is like the big mamma jamma, right? Whatever it is. So like I'll shout out one of my mentees. So it'd be like jdnicolephotography.com, right? Or like wyethaugustinePhoto.com, whatever. These incredible sites, or Alyssa kivisandcamera.com, that's the big homepage, right? And then kind of like you can see that some of these will match what you have in your navigation bar, right? So it'd be like portfolio, investment, or services, experience, whatever, blog and contact, right? Because those are already things that clients want to know. Your site is a employee of yours. That's how I look at it. And people are going to your site and they're going to ask these questions. So I think it's really cool and crucial for you to have these things in place so that you can answer them in advance and kind of keep them on the site too. That's going to help as well. And then you see below that too, those are your categories, right? So if you are one of those people who is tagging things like crazy amounts, not on Instagram, but I mean in your blog posts, where you're just like, DC wedding photographer, DC weddings, DC wedding memorial photographer, all that stuff. Stop doing that. Unless it applies strictly to the post, Google knows that you're spamming. That's what they call a red hat or a black hat process. So keep it simple, right? Pick those categories. Maybe you do babies, maybe you do family, maybe you do corporate, whatever categories. Below that, this is where you can tag a little bit. What state is it in? What city? What venue? What kind of ceremony, right? So if you do a Jewish ceremony or you do a Hindi ceremony, the style of details, the season, LGBTQ, what time of day was it, that kind of stuff. What's cool with that is that, one, Google's going to like that as well, because somebody's going to be like, I'm looking for summer wedding photos at this particular venue, right? Could be cool. Well, you've shot a summer wedding there, so beautiful. The other thing, too, is that I like to, when couples are like, hey, have you ever shot at this venue before? And as you know, I get kind of, I get silly, right? We'll put it that way. That's the nice way of saying it. And what I'll do is, since I already have a tag for that venue set up, so it's like adammason.com/tag/ the name of the venue, I'll just send them that tag. And there's like 40 blog posts from that venue. And so they're like, oh my gosh, there's so much to look through. This is amazing. Like, at least for me, I want Google to think I'm the authority for that venue. And I want that couple to think I'm the authority for that venue. I want them to be like, oh, Adam knows every part of this venue. Adam's team is incredible and they're going to crush it. That's building their trust, and they just hire you, and it's great. So that's where you can kind of use those tags to your advantage. I think that's really cool. Or if somebody's like, hey, have you ever shot, ketubah signing, right? So in a Jewish ceremony, have you ever shot, sand ceremony, whatever those kinds of things, you can tag those and then help people find those, all right? And then even smaller things, alt tags, we'll talk about those. Those go into your images, your image sizes. If your images are too big, Google's going to be like, no, we don't want to serve this to our clients because we want websites to be fast. Text, you have to write. If you're going to blog anything, you got to write. Put some words on there, make it happen. Meta descriptions, that is basically when you Google something, like if you Google West Elm, under West Elm, it'll say, modern furniture for modern people or something like that. And that's where your meta description is. And there are little ways, plugins on WordPress and Squarespace where you can like edit that easily. CTA, call to action. How do we get people, they came to one blog post, say it's about like why you should have a second photographer. How do you get them to the next one? If that makes sense. Make sure nothing's on fire. Nothing's on fire. James Kelly. Love that guy. Photographer's Crake podcast from Scotland. It's a badass podcast. And then backlinks, as we mentioned, right? So backlinks are just going to be people. Also, too, anytime you get submitted to a publication, I don't really care about that for my clients, but it really helps your website because, weddingchicks.com is, also publishing a link to your site. So it gives you more authority. If they have authority in the wedding space, it helps bring you up. All right. Guys, I told you we're getting nerdy here. You don't even freaking know. So we're going to get to backlinks and social proof. All right. So this is really fun. This is going to be the easiest stuff that you guys can do, tonight. Grab a drink, get your laptop. Don't open Facebook, other than to rewatch this and start blogging. All right. So these are all easy backlinks that you should have, right? So Facebook, put it in your bio. Twitter, put it in your bio. Instagram, put it in your bio. Pinterest, put it in your bio. Flickr, LinkedIn, YouTube, Vimeo, Tumblr. All these websites are free. Start here, all right? That's going to be the place where now you have 8 to 10, little sites that are pushing back to your website. That's going to help you, especially if you're new. That's going to help just get some traction, all right? We're just trying to, get the little things bubbling up and to the top, and then people will be like, oh, wow, like this website is here, right? The other thing too, let me see. Also, I didn't write these down, but like a Google My Business listing. 1, you're a real business. You should have a business listing. 2, Yelp, which is gross, but it's good to have. Just to have it on there. Wedding Wire, of course, right? Topical for wedding photographers. The Knot, Zola, local business listings. So if you know like a chamber of commerce somewhere, or BNI, Rising Tide, local church groups, all that kind of stuff, get on there. A backlink's a backlink. Why not? Especially if you're in a low competition area, you might only need a few. Whereas like in DC, to get on the first page, you probably need like 1,000 backlinks, maybe 2,000 backlinks. Which, don't be scared, you'll get over time. But again, you got to start now. It's free. Set your business up on it. Also, 2, try to get featured. So, like, pick your 5 favorite weddings after this and submit them somewhere. If you're in the, like, 2 bright lights kind of thing, you can do that. Or, if you need, like, a PR person, that's what we do. We have a person, we just pay them, like, a few $100s a month, and she submits every wedding that I shoot. And basically just literally throws it at the ceiling and sees what sticks, basically. But a lot of stuff sticks, because there are a lot of wedding outlets there that need weddings, and we might have a wedding that's not our favorite, but is still solid, or we did a good job on, or the details are really cool, and somebody's going to want to feature that. So there's definitely outlets like that, and obviously you can submit yourself, of course, to keep that money down. So guys, we're getting freaking deep in here. Keep track too. I would always say build a press page or a featured page. I forget what mine is, but link back to the sites that have linked to you, because they're going to like that as well. And when they tell you got featured on Wedding Chicks, you're like, oh, that's so cool. I'm going to add a link to my site on here as well. But also too, for clients, when they see oh, you've been linked there, they're like, oh, this person's been featured on Brides or People Magazine or Time or whatever, or wherever you've been featured. Don't feel bad. Some wedding couples don't know that Wedding Chicks exists. So I keep using them as an example, but green wedding shoes, right? Some couples don't know what that is, and that's okay. But the idea is that you're building that social proof, and then Google's going to read that and go, oh, 6 websites are linking back to them, and they're linking back. This whole backlink smorgasbord, okay? Something too, maybe a blog idea, announce when you've been featured, or you've been, put all your features from the month on there, or something like that, or something you're really excited about, something like that. There are lots of ideas to kind of keep those wheels turning. Where do you post the backlinks? Backlinks aren't something you post. Backlinks are something that you receive, right? So anytime somebody posts, adammason.com somewhere on the internet, it's a backlink to me. So if a web submission, to weddingchicks.com, if I have a wedding feature there, or Washingtonian or something like that, they're already backlinking to me. If you wanted to build a page, you obviously could do, post those backlinks, right? So I'll link to that Washingtonian article about me or about my wedding that I've photographed, and then clients can go to that. So you can just build a page talking about where you've been featured because you're awesome. Yeah. Also too, guest posts and ideas. We're just diving into this. Guest posts. So we're have planners, have florists, have DJs, everything. Have them write guest posts about you. So a DJ could write my 5 tips to party as a DJ, or whatever, 5 tips to keep the night rocking, or whatever. Find out what your couples want or what your clients want and write about it. And then you can have other people write for you, which is really, really cool, right? So those planners, etc. And then, one, you're building more content that is going to give you more authority. And then 2, they might link to you, obviously, too, because they're excited that, you shared their expertise, right? People want to be featured. Okay. Yeah, there's so much on it. Venues also, write about your favorite venues, okay. Authority. We talked about this. Main thing, Google's listing who is the most trusted source on this, right? So if you want to know about Chicago style pizza, I'm your guy. Okay, both what to eat and what's not to eat, I'm your guy. But if you want to know about, I don't know, anti-disestablishmentarianism, I'm not your guy. Zero idea. So it's just what authority does that person have, right? You need to show up for your current and future clients. Like we said, you do this by serving and giving out the information that only the expert can, right? So a lot of couples, I talk to the couples all the time on the phone, and I'll just be like, hey, so do you have any questions for me? And they're like, we really don't know what to ask. And we always get offended when they ask that list the Knot gives them, right? Because we're like, of course I bring backup camera gear, or of course I edit my photos, whatever attitude we get. But at the same time, set the authority. What do they need to worry about, and what do they not need to worry about? I think that's really good. All right. And then your homepage. Your homepage needs to be obvious that you are a DC wedding photographer, or a Charlotte wedding photographer, an Austin wedding photographer. It needs to be obvious, okay? Both in photos and your style, right? So if you're light and airy for couples in love, it needs to be light and airy for couples in love photos, but also in Charlotte, whatever, and have that kind of stuff, all right? Okay. How to blog. All right. So like I said, at the end of this video, I have a resource online on Patreon that you guys should definitely go check out of me walking through a blog post that you guys can use forever. And it's going to really, really help you just okay, what do I do? What are the steps I take? What's the checklist I need to know? And it'll be really cool. But here we go. Answer questions. Inspire. If you're thinking of ideas of how to blog, be selective. Don't blog everything. I used to blog everything, and it slowed me down. Google likes niches. So if you are just in one state, one city, whatever, and you don't want to do destination stuff, don't do your don't blog destination stuff, or don't blog stuff that's out of here. When it's really cool, like I keep reading comments. Sorry, guys. But like, don't. Yeah, just be selective on what you blog. That's also a business tip too. Like, if you don't want to shoot weddings in the rain or weddings at a church, don't blog church weddings, okay? Or don't even show those photos. Technical. Tell us why. Why does second shooters matter? Why do having timelines matter? Why does it matter that, like for us, we love to stay to the end of the wedding night because we think that's when the people are the most fun for photos. We'll put it that way, right? Alcohol helps, and so that's really cool. I think the technical details as far as blogging, like compelling title with a main key phrase. What will they find when they come here? People are not looking for Stacy and Jimmy's wedding photos, okay? They're looking for, the Marriott Ranch wedding photos in the fall. Does that make sense? You could still have a little bit of Stacy and Jimmy in there, right? You want to talk about it, but you have to think like a little bit bigger than what your current clients are. Your current clients will still like it. There are photos, right? So if you do a little blog sneak peek or whatever, that'll be really cool. Small images like we talked about, less than 1 megabyte. If you get under 500K, like kilobits, whatever, under 500K, then you're really cruising, okay? Like, you just do not want to get a megabyte because it just takes so long and people are on their phones, and if you blog 40 images, it's going to take a while, right? That's larger than like a whole music album back in the day when we used to download music. Anyway, image names, your file names matter, right? So you can just have words and dashes, right? So just Washington-DC-wedding-photographer-.jpg, whatever. Image alt tags, again, I have all this in the Patreon walkthrough so you can kind of see how that works. Alt tags are basically, don't over tag these either. Google reads these and it needs to be important, but it's for the hearing and the seeing impaired so that Google can tell them what the image is. So if you have a black and white photo of a couple kissing on the dance floor or something like that, you need to write that as the alt tag. Don't write like DC wedding photographer takes awesome DC wedding photos. Hire me right now. CaitlinMarks.com, whatever. That we're doing this live, guys. So you want to make sure that is going to be accurate. Okay. And again, in the Patreon, we have that resource that's really cool. And then Eric said, where's the demo you were talking about? So that's on the Patreon, patreon.com/thebeardedtog. Come join the community. We have an early bird rate. We'll talk about this at the end, but that's where it's a 20-minute video of me writing a blog. And then I have a blog workflow too. If you like suck at doing stuff fast, every blog probably takes me like 20 minutes to do one that's like really good for SEO. So lots of words. We talked about that. Need a lot of words. I have some tricks of that in the video, but what I usually do is I write as if I'm telling my mom or my wife about the wedding. So just like write it down. What do they think? People are like, I love the way you explain things. Guys, it's called SEO for dummies. I am a dummy. If I can do this, you can do this, all right? And then meta description, right? So like your particular blog post, what is this blog about, but like in less than 2 sentences, all right? Let me see what we got here. Here's a good example of a blog, right? So this is called the featured snippet. So this is like the creme de la creme of Google. So if you Google best engagement photo locations in Washington, D.C. or something like that, my post comes up. So I'm first. They don't even use my photos. They're just using like little Google whatever, but they will go to my site. So once this hit Google, my engagement leads were insane. It literally, imagine if you're number 1 on Google for DC engagement photos, right? Or at least something similar to this, right? Because people want to know where to do it. And also I get a lot of proposal engagement or proposal leads because people are thinking about where do I propose? Usually dudes who have no idea where to do it, but that's okay. And so this is definitely going to be a really cool spot. Only 33 minutes in, guys, we're crushing. So that is going to be a really good example. Also, that's a freebie, like top 10 engagement photo locations in your city, or whatever, or like top 10 indoor photo locations in your city, top 10 outdoor photo locations in your city, top 10 winter photo locations in your city. Again, like the ideas just keep coming. So just write, just do it. And again, this is free. And you have the photos for it because you already shoot there. All right. And even if you don't, say you only have like 4 of the 10, write about the 4, do a really good job, and then do a style shoot for 30 minutes at the location you want to do it when it's safe to go out. And you can absolutely do that. All right. This is an example, of just, one of those sections from that post that got ranked, right? So like good photo. Oh, this looks like the Lincoln Memorial. Couple is there. What a cool view. It's sunny. There's no people, which in DC a lot of people care about. Also great currently in the news to have no people. And then I wrote about it. If I wanted it to be even better, I would write even more. All right. Content ideas. Guys, we've already talked about this so much, but man, this is insane. Best time of day for wedding portraits. Do you need a second photographer? What to wear for your engagement session? What things to bring on wedding day? I feel like girls have that locked down. Like the women wedding blogging game is, and they are so much better at it. So because you already know what do you bring, and you don't feel awkward saying like what people need to bring on wedding day. Whereas me, I was like, top 10 favorite wedding venues in your city, top 10 engagement locations, top unique offbeat venues and locations. Like a lot of our photographers on our team are very offbeat. We don't like shooting at the same kind of places anymore. So we're pushing more for the weird and quirky, or like showing that normal venues can be a little bit more interesting. And so a lot of our content is geared towards that. A lot of my couples are like, hey, we want to shoot at night. I'm like, yes, let's do it. Like, let's make some cool portraits at night. And so we have to kind of gear our content towards that. But that's going to really help you get featured, on your press, right? Or like talk about when you got featured, talk about that kind of stuff. Guest posts, have people come on your site and write for you. Other DJs, caterers, etc., all that kind of stuff. They're going to appreciate the shout out. It'll be really cool. Also, too, you see a lot of wedding photographers, including myself, shout out the vendors after a wedding at the bottom. Do that. You're giving them backlinks, which just means they'll like you. And even if it doesn't help you in the SEO, they'll give you clients, which brings you money, which is great. So anyway, yeah. Okay. Yeah, and then a few quick things. We're basically almost done until we do some Q&A. But one, there are a few apps that you can use to kind of, look at your SEO for free. Obviously, Google Analytics, right? So they make their own tools. So I definitely encourage you to use it. It's a little nerdy to set up, so if you need help, let me know. Google Search Console, definitely check that out as well. And on the iPhone, I love this app called SEO Edge. So basically how I use it, and I'll go into a deep dive on our Patreon about it. But essentially, I'll use my URL and type in like 5 to 10 keywords that I want to show up for, and I'll just rank them. So for all my mentees, when we first start, I start ranking them now, and then every month as we meet, I look at their rankings and see where they're at, and that way we can be like, oh, we need to work on this, or oh, we need to fix this, if that makes sense. So that's SEO Edge, super cool app. I'm gonna do a deep dive on Patreon that I think is gonna be mind blowing about how I use it, and it'll really help you because, yeah, I'm very competitive, so I have my top 5 competitors in SEO Edge, and I track the keywords, and then I use that to make my site better. So it really is that's the beauty of SEO, is do you want to be better than your competition? Just work harder. Just do it. So that's really cool. Homework. Okay. Homework. This is an old outline, but homework. You need to do, this. You need to write. You need to make a few posts. Start with one post. Just think of something. What do you want to write? Or start, if it's easier for you to write about a specific wedding, do that. Curate the best images. Get them small enough. There are some tricks for that I'll go over. Make sure that happens. And I think all of this together, as you use it, it feels really big right now, but they're just little habits that, as you blog, once a week or every once in a while, you'll be able to do that. And you can go fix old ones. That's the best part, is you can go refresh and figure it out and make it really, really easy. So yeah, we've talked about all the theory. We've talked about how this all, kind of comes together. But like I said, I would encourage you, if you really want to see a workflow of, how I do a blog post. And again, I'm not trying to sell you. This is, the cheapest workshop you'll ever come to, right? This is free. Join our Patreon community. We have hundreds of pieces of content, especially on SEO, because it's my passion, on how I use SEO Edge, how I blog for SEO. So you can just watch me step by step and go through that. So definitely, definitely do that. Definitely come join the Patreon. We'd love to have you. That's also too where all my mentees get access to all of that content. It's really, really cool. And I would love to have that and help you guys, so you can minimize the effort that it's going to take you, right? Especially after this workshop, and maximize the results without feeling like a robot on Patreon. So we're going to do a little bit of Q&A, probably 10 minutes, but I'm going to end this a little bit shorter than normal because I want you guys to freaking go do it, if that makes sense. All right. Content ideas, easy wins. We didn't even talk about this. It's not in my URL. SSL certificate. So if you don't have HTTPS in your site, go get it. Your host will be able to help you with this. It's $10, but really good. Google My Business Listing. Homepage title, city name, wedding photographer. Period. End of discussion. Yoast plugin. location content, apps, tools. We talked about this, Google Search Console, analytics, SEO Edge, robot.com if you want to get really nerdy, and keywords anywhere. It used to be free. It's paid now. But I talk about all this on Patreon. These are really cool. And yeah, so if you want to do a blog page walkthrough, come to Patreon. Also, anybody who joins the Patreon and goes to that post, which I'll link in the description of this video, I'm going to audit a blog post of yours. So if you have a blog post and you're like, Adam, I want to rank for this, what can I do better? I'm going to take a look at it and give you all the tips I can to hopefully make it better. I'll even start tracking it for you so we can work on that together. And it'll be really cool. The URL is right there, patreon.com/thebeardedtog. That's the first post that you'll see when you go into Patreon. I think I can even actually show you. So yeah, so this is it. So in Patreon, you'll see blog for SEO. It's time for couples to find you. I also show my blogging workflow. And so, yeah, you guys can definitely do that. But yeah, let's take some Q&A. Bruce said, it seems like blog posts are the hack to SEO. No, every page and blog is basically the same. Like if you use WordPress, a post and a blog, or post, a page, and a blog are all basically the same. They might just have different structures, or for your site structure, it's a little bit easier just organization-wise, but pages can rank just as high as posts. So, I probably have 15 public pages on my site, and then, hundreds of blog posts. But yeah, Chelsea said, SEO Edge is amazing. I go from 65 to 1 in one of my SEO categories. That's awesome. Yeah. Let's get some questions in here if you have any questions. Obviously, I think you should join the Patreon, of course. 12 people were late and didn't join in time, so you guys can laugh at them. It sounds so mean, but, we're just not into lateness. You know what I'm saying? Okay, awesome. Where do you post the backlinks? Again, you can just make like a press page if you wanted to have the links show up. So really cool. Awesome. Okay. Let's see. I love it. I've seen homepages as people's blogs. Is it important to put a lot of content text on your homepage? Yeah, your homepage has to have the authority, right? So, your homepage should have a lot on it. But at the same time, it shouldn't be like overwhelming. It still needs to make design sense. So that's kind of the fun challenge of SEO is like, it still needs to make sense where you can go to it, see a few images, read reviews, kind of take them through the sales process, which I'm not an expert at. I can give you little tips on that, but I think that'll be really helpful. Can you use all the techniques you suggest in narrative? Kate, I'm going to tell you this. Instead of paying for narrative, yeah, narrative uses these techniques that are globally recognized by SEO and Google everywhere. So yeah, narrative is an app. It's really, really cool. It's kind of like Blog Stomp, but it adds some SEO stuff to it. But for me, I just think it's pointless. So I tried it for a little bit, and I can rank just as high without it. So sorry, I get mean about paying for stupid stuff, and for me, I just don't like it. Do you all rank for one keyword per page? That's the idea. There's going to be some long tail keywords. We're getting nerdy here, but that you will rank for kind of by accident. So like, I did a wedding back in the day for this couple, and their names were Rachel and Joey. And I got a lot of traffic on it, and I had no idea why. And then Google Analytics said it came from people searching Rachel and Joey wedding, which I've never watched Friends, but that's a Friends thing. So, even though their, weddings post name was like, Farmstead Golf Course Wedding, something like that, that's what you can be thinking about as well. But yeah, for one post, it's just going to be like, do you need a second photographer? Tips from Mason Photography or something like that. So yeah. Any other questions? Awesome. I feel bad now, Kate. I'm so sorry. No, just, narrative's cool, but. Okay, awesome. If I do headshots, weddings, and seniors, should I have separate websites with separate SEO? I don't think so, but it really depends. My big thing that I tell mentees is to make content based on all three of those, right? Like, when you go to your site, your homepage, you might just need to be like, DC, or town name, wherever you're based, DC portrait and family photographer or something like that, or DC photographer. And then you can build out those resources. So have a portfolio that is headshots, have a portfolio that's weddings. From a business perspective, I think if you're trying to get niches make more money. So if you want to make more money, then you should have separate sites for all of those. But that can get confusing because like if your name is like Eric blah blah blah, your name is actually Eric Holiday McCann, then what'll happen is if you're, instead of it being company names, your name will just rank for all three. So that can be a little bit messy for Google because instead of them looking for one thing, they're looking for three. But yeah, I would just have different pages and stuff. I would start with that. Have some posts, do your categories, right? So like have a weddings page, but only have posts from the wedding category show on that page, right? And only have wedding advice there. Your site can be much bigger than the clients see from the first thing they go to, and you can rank for like other pages. So like I want to rank for my photo booth, right? So, but you can't access information about my photo booth from the homepage, if that makes sense. Or like my podcast, The Bearded Talk, used to be hosted on my main site, and then now we made it a whole new site. So we had to do some redirects and stuff like that, but no one knew, none of my clients knew that I had a podcast, at least from my website, for a long time. And then, you can just kind of move it around. All right. This is great. Oh, another person asked, what do I do if I shoot different types of clients, headshots? Again, like mitzvahs and weddings could be, for events, something like that. You could kind of generalize and then use tags as like mitzvah, wedding, corporate, whatever, just to keep it organized. So, because people want to know what to expect for. But again, like if people Google DC wedding photographer and they go to my site, they better see wedding photos, right? Because we all go to those websites where it wasn't what we were looking for. And the idea for SEO is that you want to be what they're looking for. So there needs to be a match. Corinne says, any more techniques to be on top of accessibility standards for the blind and deaf community? So that refers to the alt tags. To my knowledge, I don't know too much, about other things other than the screen reader technology, which is what, the deaf, blind, hearing impaired, seeing impaired people use to access those alt tags, because instead of them seeing the photo, it'll read the photo to them and say, this is a black and white image of a couple in a car, at a church or whatever. But I don't know. That's a great question. What's the most important thing you should not do when building a site, writing a blog if you want to rank? Yeah. You should not skip on writing. Words are the easiest thing. And then images are just going to supplement the words, as far as the authority goes. Like we could write a blog post tonight with no photos and have it rank by Friday, for an obscure keyword if we wanted. John says, when doing a list blog post, like best engagement location, should we aim for 10 in order to rank? In order to rank for that Google preferred list. No, you can do as many as you want, but just make sure that it's quality, right? So you don't want to do like 100 locations, I don't think. But if you did, 10 to 17 or something like that, or even if you have 7, but you wrote a lot about them and then, had authority, like link to your other posts from that location, stuff like that, that'll be really helpful. Google's going to like that because I think it's useful for people. Another question. Porter says, so I usually spend an annoying amount of time on alt text and image naming within a post. Sort of sounds like it's more important to beef up the homepage and get substantial content in the post itself. So, for me, if probably 90% of the time, all my images have the same name for a post, and it's whatever my SEO keyword is for that post. And then the alt tags are where I get different into it. But I still think that's a good strategy. And I think what Narrative does, going back to Kate's question, the Narrative is an app that does SEO and kind of blog stomp together. What Narrative does is that actually sometimes will say, hey, we can rename this photo if you want to rank for this. Say like photo 7 is something really particular. You can try that, but the idea is that one is going to show up in Google image results, when a client Googles that, which is totally fine. And so I think there is some strategy to do that. So my overall answer would be like, you should definitely try to do it. My goal is like, I just want to show up on the homepage. So a lot of that comes from just having a beefy, authoritative blog post. So don't stop what you're doing, Porter. I like that. And if we go on the Patreon, like send me a link and I can see like if it's doing too much or doing too little. Winston, I love you, man. What are your favorite food places in DC? This is going to be replayed somewhere. So I love this. But Pie Pizzeria, Chicago style pizza with cornmeal crust. It's incredible. Lindsay says, for your homepage name, should you use only a specific location or region? For example, Northern VA versus Washington, D.C. It really depends. So like Washington, D.C. is like a small overarching area. It's only 10 by 10 miles. But, obviously we have the DMV, which is like the greater DC area. But the idea is that people are looking for DC wedding photographers within 90 minutes, or so around DC, right? So radius, circumference, in like Philadelphia, right? So lots of photographers live 30, 40, 50 minutes outside of Philadelphia, but they all label their sites Philadelphia, right? Or if you lived in Brooklyn, you might do Brooklyn wedding photographer, but you might do New York wedding photographer. It just depends. New York is going to have higher competition because that is the higher keyword. So if you are in like a niche space where maybe there's a few venues around you and you just want to do that, you could definitely make that happen. But say you wouldn't want to do like Northern Virginia wedding photographer, I don't think. But we could go into that and look at see how many people are Googling that if possible. And then from there, we can see if that is viable. You could also, too, make a separate page. If you're a DC wedding photographer, make a separate page on your same site for Virginia based weddings, Virginia wedding information. So you could have all your blogs from Virginia, which could be really cool, too, and help serve, the Virginia based clients. So, yeah, this is awesome, guys. Again, I would encourage you, listen to the podcast, also episode 35 with Dylan Howe. He's a really great SEO photographer when it comes to all that stuff. Come join the Patreon like tonight. I would love to see you guys in there. Send me your links, and then I'll give you feedback throughout this week on your blog posts. And yeah, it'll be awesome. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you guys for coming. And it's awesome. I will see you guys next month for our next workshop. But keep listening to the podcast, as that's where we're going to announce what they're going to be on. And guys, I hope this has helped you and been awesome. I want you guys to make more money, be found, and have a more fulfilling business. All right, guys. So again, if I can do it, you can do it. Thanks, guys.